Captain Elena Torres stood at the helm of the U.S. Horizon, her eyes fixed on the unusual radiation signature that had just appeared on the long-range scanners. The Deep Space Patrol vessel had been monitoring the outer rim of human space when the anomaly caught their attention. "Lieutenant Chin, analysis?" Torres called out, her voice carrying the weight of 15 years of deep space experience. The sensor officer's fingers danced across his holographic display. "It's like nothing I've seen before, Captain. The energy pattern suggests artificial origin, but it's degrading rapidly." "Wait," he paused, adjusting the sensors. "There's a signal embedded in the radiation. It's a distress call." The bridge fell silent as the processed signal filled the air. The translation matrix struggled for several seconds before producing a haunting, melodic sound that gradually formed into words. "To any vessels within range, we are the Lycians. Our ship is failing. The solar storm. We cannot. Please." Torres straightened in her chair. The Lycians were unknown to humanity, a first contact scenario in the middle of a crisis. "Show me the source." The main view screen shifted, revealing a distant star system bathed in the violent red glow of a massive solar storm. At its edge, barely visible through the interference, a silver shape tumbled helplessly in the stellar winds. "Their ship's design is remarkable," Commander Ramirez, the chief engineer, observed from his station. "Those crystalline structures along the hull, they're unlike anything in our database. But they're breaking apart in the radiation." Torres accessed the sensor data herself, her expression grim. The alien vessel's shields were failing, and its hull was clearly not designed for such extreme conditions. To species from gentler worlds, this level of solar radiation would be catastrophic. "How long until the nearest Galactic Council vessel could reach them?" she asked. Lieutenant Chin checked the emergency frequencies. "The closest Council ship is 3 days out, Captain. The Lycians have maybe 2 hours before their radiation shielding fails completely." Torres nodded, having already made her decision. "They don't have a choice, but we do. Humanity has been waiting for a chance to prove ourselves to the galactic community. To show them that being Deathworlders, being tough enough to survive on Earth, means more than just being dangerous." She opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. We've encountered a first contact situation with an alien species in distress. Their ship is caught in a Class 9 solar storm, conditions that would be fatal to most species in the known galaxy. But not to us." She paused, letting her next words carry their full weight. "This is what we train for. This is why our ships are built to withstand conditions that others consider impossible. Prepare for emergency rescue operations. Show them what humanity can do." The bridge erupted into focused activity. Commander Ramirez began reconfiguring their shields to extend protection to the alien vessel. The medical bay prepared for unknown alien physiologies. Engineering teams readied the specialized rescue equipment that made human ships unique in the galaxy. As the U.S. Horizon turned toward the raging storm, Torres received the first visual of the Lycians through the deteriorating feed from their ship. They were graceful, almost translucent beings, their bodies seeming to shimmer with an inner light. And they were terrified, not just of their situation, but of their would-be rescuers. "They're transmitting again," Chen reported. They're warning us to stay back. They say no ship can survive these conditions." Torres allowed herself a small smile. "Send them this message. This is Captain Elena Torres of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We are humans, what you might know as Deathworlders. Your conditions for survival are not our conditions for survival. Hold on. We're coming to get you." The Horizon's engines flared to life, pushing the ship toward the edge of the storm. The radiation levels were already climbing beyond what most species could endure, but to the human crew, it was just another day at the office. "Shields at maximum," Ramirez reported. "Hull integrity nominal. We can take anything this storm throws at us." Torres watched as the first waves of stellar radiation washed over their ship. The Horizon's advanced systems, built by a species that had evolved under the constant radiation of their own sun, barely registered the storm. "Let's show the galaxy what Deathworlders can really do," Torres said, her voice filled with determination. "Take us in." The U.S. horizon plunged deeper into the solar storm, its reinforced hull dispersing waves of radiation that would have melted standard spacecraft. Inside, the crew worked with practiced efficiency, their bodies naturally resistant to the G-forces that accompanied their high-speed approach. Multiple radiation spikes incoming, Lieutenant Chen warned, his hands moving across his console. The Lycian vessel's structural integrity is down to 23%. Captain Torres studied the tactical display, where the alien ship now appeared as a failing beacon in a sea of chaos. Status of their life support systems? Failing rapidly, responded Dr. Sarah O'Neill, the ship's xenobiologist, who had joined them on the bridge. Their atmospheric processors are shutting down. From what I can tell of their physiology from the scans, they won't survive more than 30 minutes without them. The ship shuddered as a particularly violent wave of solar energy crashed against their shields. Commander Ramirez's voice came through clear despite the interference. Captain, I've been analyzing their ship's design. Those crystalline structures we noticed? They're not just decorative, they're part of their propulsion system. But the radiation is causing them to resonate at a dangerous frequency. Torres processed this information quickly. A species that used crystalline technology would be particularly vulnerable to the kind of vibrations this storm was producing. Can we extend our shield harmonics to dampen those vibrations? Yes, but we'll need to get much closer, Ramirez replied. Within 500 meters. That close? Shin interjected. The turbulence in the storm could cause a collision. Torres stood from her chair, moving to the tactical display. We didn't come all this way to watch them die. Lieutenant Sarah, take manual control of navigation. Your zero-G training in the asteroid belts is about to pay off. The young lieutenant nodded, her hands gripping the neural interface controls. As one of the few humans who had trained extensively in asteroid mining operations, she had the reflexes and spatial awareness needed for such precise maneuvering. As they closed in on the Lycian vessel, Torres opened a channel to their engineering team. Prepare the magnetic grapples. We'll have one shot at this. Miss, and the rebound could tear both ships apart. The next few minutes were a testament to human determination and skill. Sarah guided the horizon through the stellar turbulence with incredible precision, while Ramirez's team worked to align their shield frequencies with the failing crystalline structures of the alien ship. At 600 meters, they got their first clear view of the Lycians through the bridge windows. Their ship was a work of art, all graceful spires and translucent surfaces that would have been breathtaking if they weren't fracturing under the strain. They're transmitting again, Chen announced, his voice tight with concern. They're begging us to save their children first. They have a nursery section with 20 young ones. Torres felt her jaw clench. Of course they had children aboard. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore, it was a race against time to prevent a tragedy that would haunt two civilizations. New plan, she announced. Sarah, bring us in above their ship. Ramirez, prepare for a full shield bubble extension. We're going to create a pocket of calm space around both vessels. Captain, Ramirez protested, that will expose our hull directly to the storm. Even our systems have limits. Then we better work fast. Torres opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to attempt something that's never been done before. When we extend our shields around the Lycian vessel, we'll be taking the full force of the storm ourselves. Every system will be pushed to its limit. But there are children over there, and we're their only hope. This is what humans do, we achieve the impossible when lives are at stake. The bridge crews straightened in their seats, their expressions showing that mixture of determination and calculated recklessness that had become humanity's trademark among the stars. Sarah's hands danced across the controls, bringing the horizon into position with surgical precision. Below them, the Lycian ship's crystalline spires continued to fracture, each break sending visible shudders through their hull. Magnetic grapples ready, engineering reported. Shield bubble prepared for extension, Ramirez added. Torres took a deep breath. In the next few moments, they would either pull off one of the most daring rescues in space history or join the Lycians in their fate. She thought of Earth, of the countless generations that had evolved under its punishing conditions, preparing humanity for exactly this kind of moment. Execute rescue protocol, she ordered. Let's show them what Deathworlders can do when innocent lives are at stake. The Horizon's enhanced shields began to extend, creating a protective bubble that would either save two species or doom them both. The moment the Horizon's shield bubble enveloped the Lycian vessel, every alarm on the bridge screamed to life. The ship's superstructure groaned under the immense strain as it bore the full brunt of the solar storm. Hull temperature rising critical, Ramirez reported, his fingers flying over his console. Diverting emergency power to thermal regulators. Captain, we have maybe 10 minutes before our systems overload. Torres watched as the magnetic grapples locked onto the alien ship's least damaged sections. Through the view screen, she could see the immediate effect of their shield bubble. The Lycian vessel's crystalline structures stopped vibrating, giving them a chance to stabilize. Lieutenant Chin, establish emergency communications, Torres ordered. Tell them we're going to bring them inside our cargo bay. It's their only chance. The response came quickly, but not as expected. The Lycian captain's voice carried both desperation and warning. Human vessel, there's something you must know. We were not just passing through. We were running. Before Torres could process this information, Sarah's voice cut through the tension. Captain. Multiple contacts emerging from the storm's far side. The tactical display updated to show 3 vessels breaking through the solar turbulence. Their design was angular, predatory, completely different from the Lycians' artistic architecture. The Kryvax, the Lycian captain's voice trembled. They followed us. Even here. Torres's mind raced. The rescue had just become infinitely more complicated. Chin. What are we looking at? Ships are heavily armed, Captain. Energy signatures suggest advanced weapons systems. They're charging weapons. The first shot came without warning, a lance of purple energy that split the storm. The Horizon's shields flared but held, though the strain on their already taxed systems sent new warnings blaring through the bridge. Captain, the Lycian's voice was urgent now. The Kryvax, they hunt species they consider weak. They drove us into this storm deliberately. We cannot let them take our children. Torres felt a familiar heat rise in her chest, the same fury that had driven humanity to survive every challenge Earth had thrown at them. And they won't. Commander Ramirez, what's our weapons status? All systems operational, but maintaining the shield bubble around both ships limits our offensive capabilities. Lieutenant Sarah, can you get us between them and the Lycian ship? Yes, Captain, but it will be tight. One wrong move in this storm. Do it. Torres opened a channel to the approaching vessels. This is Captain Elena Torres of the U.S. Horizon. The ship you're pursuing is under our protection. Under Galactic Council law, attempting to force any vessel into natural hazards is a crime. Stand down. The response came in the form of another energy blast, this one aimed directly at the Lycian ship's vulnerable stern. The Horizon's extended shields caught it, but the cost was immediate. Shield integrity dropping. Ramirez shouted. We can't take many more hits while maintaining the bubble. Torres made a split-second decision. All power to forward shields. Sarah, on my mark, execute a reverse roll. Ramirez, prepare to cycle our shield frequency to match their weapon signature. Chin, target their lead ship's weapon systems. The bridge crew moved with practiced precision, understanding their captain's plan without need for further explanation. This was why humans were different, their ability to adapt, to turn desperate situations to their advantage. They're launching some kind of missiles, Chin reported. Let them come, Torres said, her voice steady. Sarah, execute roll, now. The Horizon spun on its axis, using the solar storm's energy to amplify its movement. As they rolled, their shields, now cycling at the same frequency as the Kryvax weapons, absorbed the missile's energy and redirected it. The lead Kryvax ship had no time to react as their own weapons' energy, combined with the solar storm's radiation, was reflected back at them. Their shields failed spectacularly, leaving them vulnerable to the very storm they'd used as a weapon. The other ships are breaking off, Chin announced. They're retreating. Torres allowed herself a grim smile. Send them a message. Next time you want to hunt someone, remember that not all prey is what it seems. Some of us bite back. But there was no time to celebrate. The Horizon's systems were still critical, and they had a ship full of refugees to save. Ramirez, status of cargo bay atmospheric controls? Ready for Lycian environmental requirements, Captain. We can begin emergency transport as soon as we stabilize our position. Torres nodded, turning to her crew. Let's finish what we came here to do. The Kryvax wanted to show the galaxy what happens to weak species. Instead, they've helped us show what happens when you underestimate humanity's determination to protect those in need. The rescue operation was about to enter its most critical phase, and they weren't out of danger yet. But they'd already done the impossible once today. What was one more time? The U.S. Horizon's cargo bay transformed into an emergency shelter in record time. Medical teams worked alongside engineering crews, setting up environmental domes calibrated to match the Lycian ship's atmospheric conditions. The real challenge wasn't just keeping their guests alive, it was making them feel safe in the presence of Deathworlders. First group coming through now, Dr. O'Neill announced, supervising the emergency transfer. Through the cargo bay's massive doors, the Lycian refugees emerged in groups, their crystalline forms catching the emergency lights and creating dancing rainbows across the walls. The children came first as promised. 20 young Lycians, their forms smaller and more delicate than the adults, their inner light pulsing with fear and uncertainty. Captain Torres had left the bridge in Commander Ramirez's capable hands to personally oversee the evacuation. Their biosignatures are stabilizing, O'Neill reported, checking her scanners. The environmental domes are working perfectly. But Captain, she lowered her voice, they're terrified of us. Their physiological readings suggest extreme stress responses whenever we get too close. Torres watched as a young Lycian child shrank away from a human medical technician. The sight struck something deep in her core. These beings, so beautiful and delicate, had been taught to fear species like humans. The Kryvax had probably reinforced that fear, using their own strength as a weapon against those they deemed weak. An idea formed in her mind. Dr. O'Neill, what do you know about Lycian culture from their transmissions? They communicate partially through light patterns, the xenobiologist replied. The bioluminescence we're seeing isn't just biological, it's linguistic. Torres nodded, then toggled her comm. Engineering, I need you to adjust the cargo bay's lighting systems. Match the frequency and pattern of our guests' bioluminescence. Let's speak their language. The effect was immediate and beautiful. As the cargo bay's lights began to pulse in harmony with the Lycians' natural glow, their stress readings decreased. The children, especially, seemed fascinated by the display. A tall Lycian, their captain, Torres recognized from their communications, approached her. His crystalline form refracted the synchronized lights, creating a mesmerizing display. You understand, he said, his translated voice carrying surprise. Most species see our light speech as merely decorative. Humans have learned that understanding is the first step to connection, Torres replied. Your people are safe here. The ship suddenly lurched, cutting off her words. Ramirez's voice came through the comm. Captain, the storm's intensifying. We've got a new problem. Torres excused herself and moved to a private comm station. Talk to me. The Lycian ship's core is destabilizing. Those crystalline structures weren't just for propulsion, they're part of a massive energy matrix. If it goes critical in this storm, it would trigger a chain reaction, Torres finished. How long? 20 minutes, maybe less. We need to either stabilize it or get it far enough away that the explosion won't reach us. Torres looked back at the refugees, at the children just beginning to feel safe. They'd lost their ship, their homes. She couldn't let them lose their heritage too. Begin evacuation of all remaining Lycian crew, she ordered. Then get me our best engineers and any Lycian technical specialists. We're going to save their ship. What followed was one of the most daring technical collaborations in recent space history. Human engineers, with their experience handling extreme conditions, worked alongside Lycian crystal techs, combining their knowledge in ways never before attempted. The crystals respond to harmonic resonance, a Lycian engineer explained, his light patterns showing urgent patterns. But in the storm, we couldn't maintain the proper frequency. But we can, Torres replied. Our shields are already tuned to your ship's frequency. If we can channel that harmony through your crystal matrix. The solution was elegant in its simplicity, terrifying in its execution. It would require sending a joint human-Lycian team back onto the failing ship, using the Horizon's shield harmonics to stabilize the crystal matrix long enough to initiate a controlled shutdown. As the volunteer team prepared for their mission, Torres addressed them. What we're attempting goes beyond rescue. It's a proof that different species, different technologies, different evolutionary paths can come together to achieve the impossible. The galaxy sees humans as Deathworlders, the Lycians as fragile. Today, we show them that true strength lies in cooperation. The team moved out, racing against time as the storm raged around them. Humanity's resilience combined with Lycian expertise, creating a dance of survival that would be remembered for generations to come. Through the storm's electromagnetic interference, the joint human-Lycian team worked with precision that defied their biological differences. Human engineers, protected by their specialized suits, provided physical support while Lycian crystal techs guided them through their ship's complex energy matrix. Energy harmonic stabilizing, reported Lieutenant Wu from the engineering team. Her hands, steady despite the ship's violent shuddering, manipulated the control interfaces as directed by her Lycian counterpart. Crystal resonance dropping to safe levels. But as they worked deeper within the ship systems, disturbing evidence began to emerge. The crystal matrix hadn't failed naturally, it had been sabotaged. Captain, Wu's voice crackled through the calm, you need to see this. The primary resonance controllers show signs of external tampering. These aren't storm damage patterns. Torres, monitoring from the Horizon's bridge, felt her suspicions crystallize. Send me the data. The information that flowed to her screen told a story far more complex than a simple refugee pursuit. Embedded in the Lycian ship's damaged systems were traces of sophisticated programming, designed to trigger a catastrophic failure of their crystal drive at a specific moment. It was never about hunting the weak, the Lycian captain said softly from beside her. Torres hadn't even heard him enter the bridge. The Kryvax wanted to create an incident. Our deaths in the storm would have been blamed on human aggression. Because we were the closest patrol ship, Torres realized, the pieces falling into place. They knew we'd attempt a rescue. If your ship had exploded while we tried to save you, the Galactic Council would have assumed humans had destroyed a peaceful vessel, he completed. Our deaths would have served as proof that Deathworlders cannot be trusted with first contact situations. The revelation sent a chill through the bridge crew. The Kryvax hadn't just been hunting, they'd been orchestrating a diplomatic catastrophe that would have set human-alien relations back decades. Captain, Chen called out urgently, long-range sensors are picking up multiple Council vessels approaching. They're responding to the Kryvax distress call. Their distress call? Torres asked sharply. They're claiming we attacked them without provocation while they were attempting to assist a disabled vessel. Torres straightened in her command chair. Record everything, she ordered. Every sensor log, every communication, every piece of evidence from the Lycian ship. Chin, prepare a complete data package for transmission. She turned to the Lycian captain. Your people's testimony will be crucial. Are you willing to stand before the council? The crystalline being's internal light pulsed with determination. We will do more than testify. We will show them. He gestured to where his engineers were working alongside the human team. Your people risked everything to save not just our lives, but our heritage, our technology. The Kryvax thought to use our differences to divide us. Instead, they have forged a bond between our species. Torres nodded, a plan forming in her mind. Chin, prepare to broadcast on all council frequencies. Let's show them exactly what happens when you underestimate both humanity's strength and our capacity for cooperation. As the council ships approached, the Horizon's crew and their Lycian guests prepared to present their case. But they had more than just evidence of the Kryvax's deception. They had proof of something far more powerful, that the very traits that made humans dangerous Deathworlders were the same traits that made them the galaxy's most determined protectors. The storm continued to rage around them, but inside the Horizon, two very different species had found common ground in crisis. And perhaps that, more than any official testimony, would be their strongest argument for humanity's place among the stars. The council chamber aboard the diplomatic vessel, Stellar Concord, hummed with tension as representatives from a dozen species gathered to address the incident. The massive chamber, designed to accommodate beings from all known spacefaring races, now hosted an unprecedented scene, humans and Lycians standing together, their evidence about to shatter long-held prejudices. Captain Torres stood before the council, her presence commanding despite being surrounded by beings who had long feared her kind. Beside her, the Lycian captain's crystalline form pulsed with supportive light patterns. Honorable Council, Torres began, we've presented sensor logs, technical data, and testimony proving the Kryvax's attempted deception. But numbers and words tell only part of the story. With your permission, we wish to show you something more. At her signal, the chamber's holoprojectors activated, displaying a real-time feed from the UES Horizon's cargo bay. There, human and Lycian children played together in the environmental domes, their differences forgotten in the universal language of curiosity and wonder. When we first encountered the Lycian ship, Torres continued, both our peoples had been taught to fear each other. Humans were labeled as dangerous Deathworlders, while the Lycians were dismissed as fragile and weak. The Kryvax sought to exploit these prejudices. Instead, they proved them false. The Lycian captain stepped forward, his light patterns reflecting off the chamber's walls. Our ship's crystal matrix was designed for perfect environments, yet it survived because humans understood how to adapt their technology to protect ours. They did not overpower the storm, they learned to work with it, just as they learned to work with us. The evidence was irrefutable. The Kryvax's sabotage was exposed through meticulous technical analysis, their plot revealed through recovered data. But it was the aftermath of the rescue that truly captured the Council's attention. Holo recordings showed human engineers working in perfect sync with Lycian crystal techs, their combined expertise achieving what neither could alone. Medical logs demonstrated how human doctors had modified their equipment to better serve Lycian physiology, while Lycian light healers had shared insights that revolutionized human understanding of energy-based medicine. The term Deathworlder has been used to separate us, Torres addressed the Council directly, to mark humans as something to be feared. But surviving harsh conditions taught us more than just strength. It taught us adaptability, innovation, and most importantly, the value of helping others survive. The Lycian captain's next words resonated through the chamber. We were wrong to fear humanity's strength. In their hands, it becomes not a weapon, but a shield for those who need protection. They are not Deathworlders, they are Lifebringers. The Council's deliberation was brief by their standards, merely 3 days instead of the usual weeks. Their decision would reshape galactic relations for generations to come. The Kryvax were sanctioned, their attempts to incite interspecies conflict condemned. But more significantly, the Council established the Joint Emergency Response Initiative, a program combining human resilience with Lycian crystal technology to create a new generation of rescue vessels. Aboard the Horizon, preparing for their return journey to Earth, Torres received the final piece of news. The Lycian High Council had requested permanent human presence in their space, not as protectors, but as partners. It seems, Commander Ramirez commented, reading the official request, that we've started something bigger than a rescue mission. Torres watched as the last of their Lycian guests prepared to transfer to their new ship. The children, once terrified of humans, now waved goodbye to their new friends, their inner light pulsing with joy rather than fear. We showed them something they didn't expect, Torres replied. Not just that humans can survive anything, but that we'll risk everything to help others survive too. That's our real strength, and now they understand it's not something to fear, but something to embrace. As the Horizon set course for Earth, its crew knew they had changed more than just politics. They had proven that the very traits that made humans different, their strength, their adaptability, their determination, were exactly what the galaxy needed. The term Deathworlder remained, but its meaning had evolved. Now it carried not fear, but hope. Hope that in the darkest storms of space, there would always be those willing and able to light the way home. The story of the Horizon and its crew became legend in both human and Lycian space, a testament to what could be achieved when fear gave way to trust and when different species looked past their differences to find their common strength.